Hey, welcome back. Better late than never.
Did you miss us?
Oh, easy there.
Yeah.
What did I do?
You're like,
I was just saying, I didn't have them together. I spread them out.
Barbarians.
Yes. Turn this down a little bit. All right. Well, welcome back. We're a little late, but that's fine. Because if you guys really are fans, you'd be waiting. And as you can see, nobody's waiting. So there you go.
Chirp, chirp, chirp.
Plus,
chirp,
you all know by now those are the regulars that we are usually late anyway. So,
We're not usually late.
well,
Well,
we have issues.
It's
We
me.
usually stop every once in a while because of technical difficulties, but hey,
Yeah.
that's what.
No, this was my fault. I'll take it.
Yeah, it's Evil Ed's fault.
Yeah.
And we may not have people possibly for the simple fact that I did probably scare a few people because I did tell them what our topic was and said that there might be some people that are there could possibly be some people that are offended.
No way.
So I said, buckle up,
Buckle up, Buttercup.
buckle up, buttercups.
Bite your
This
tongue.
needs to go up that way. There we go.
There we go, boys.
I don't know why this is here, but anyway, we'll go on. All right. So welcome back, and we are your hosts, Cuz, Tex, and Evil Ed over there. And this week is Evil Ed's turn to pick a topic. So we will pass it over to Evil Ed and see what rabbit hole he sends us down.
Yeah.
Or told.
Well, before we get started.
Well, you may not.
Before we get started,
Next.
to kind of keep with the theme of this show, I would like for us all to take a moment, because and this was hot off the news this morning, that that a helicopter that was carrying the president of Iran went down, and they can't get in contact with it. So, good.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah.
And already there's speculation that it was shot down by one of those invisible Jewish lasers up in space. But stay tuned.
Stay tuned on that shit.
It was Russia. It's always Russia.
Well, no, but they're gonna blame Israel.
Yeah, it's true.
Anything that happens, even though they said that it was foggy and the weather was like really bad and it was like you couldn't see shit. That was good. You know what's going to happen.
I don't think Israel gives a shit.
I don't think anybody.
They're
gives
like,
a shit.
you can blame us. We don't care.
I think a lot of people are probably doing a little dance.
Could you put 6300 in there?
Wah, wah, wah.
If you can see that there, Grandpa.
I need my glasses.
New audio device to take the headphones. Yeah, switch to it. Oh, you say it went down?
Yeah.
Oh, something's not right. Something broke.
We're on mute right there. Does that matter?
No, that's the get rid of that thingy.
Here.
No, I don't know.
I'll do the sound effect.
Yeah. So yeah, people from Iran.
It's a shame the Ayatollah.
Not the people from Iran, but the administration and the government, if you want to call it that.
It's a shame
The leadership of Iran. Go F yourself.
It's a shame the Ayatollah wasn't on there as well, but
Yeah, he's a piece of work.
because
too.
he's actually the real one running the country. But you can't have everything at once. But a little good news before the start of the show. So,
That it is.
Wow, I feel like I got to take a shower now. That was kind of dirty there. All right. Jesus. All right. So the topic for this week is Hamas and Israel. So we got a lot going on with this one. There was a lot of protests and everything that started over here, which. Yeah, we're just going to keep on walking past that. I just wanted to let everybody know
We could spend probably a month
exactly
of shows on that shit.
Well, just to let you guys know that because of all the protests and everything over here in America, I believe that there was a white flag that went up that they timed out the war simply because we and the students were so pissed off over here about what's going on over there that they had to call a ceasefire.
and you know what? I think they should, because that's They have that much power.
Right, yeah. Apparently the students were getting pissed off that the crimpets come out of Israel. I don't know what the hell's going on.
When you say the crimpets?
Yeah, the crimpets, those little jelly-filled lovely things that...
Oh, from Tasty Cakes.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. Not that we're affiliated with Tasty Cakes in any way.
No, yes, just say Tasty. They come out of Queens in New York.
Ah, close enough.
What I always love seeing though at a good anti-Israel protest is one of them holding up the Palestinian flag eating a bagel with the smear of
Locks.
These kids are so stupid.
They are
anyway.
stupid.
Get your Starbucks, kids. It's going to be a long one. All right. So, kind of leading into everything, there's been a lot going on over there, and I know there's a lot of things that people may not understand. There's like people kind of believe on one thing or they see one thing in the media, and then everybody wants to follow suit, even though they have no idea what's going on, but because two other people believe it and they saw it on media, that's what, I believe all the protests and everything were about. So I guess to dive in it, we're going to start back in October, which we know about the attack now at the Nova Music Festival, which was a horrendous act of terrorism. And it was sad. I mean, it was something that, come to find out, I think some governments knew, but they just didn't know when, and I could be completely wrong on that one.
There's some that they knew. They believed that Hamas would not be able to execute.
Okay.
They didn't think they would be able to pull it off.
Right, but going low tech sounded like the way to go.
That's how they did it.
Oh my God. I'm sure by now a lot of people have seen, the pictures and the videos that were coming out of the area at that time. I think if I'm correct, the other day there were 3 bodies that were recovered from Hamas. That was of 3 of the captors from that day at the Nova Music Festival. So that is what really got everything started. Over here in America, it hit some heartstrings, especially with the families that have loved ones and relatives, things like that are over in Israel, that have Palestinian friends and family over there as well. I was actually lucky enough to work with someone who is Jewish, and her son and his wife and young daughter were the first ones that made it out of Israel on the first flight. So what he explained to me is he said, the thing of it is that people over here got it all wrong. It's not Israel versus the Jewish population. It's not the Palestinians versus the Jews versus Israel. Basically, all 3 groups, the Jewish people, the Palestinians, and also the Israelis, are all against Hamas. Now, of course, on the media and the news, you're going to see those 1 or 2 people that may attack, the Jewish population over in Israel and the Gaza Strip and things like that. But that is not the case for everyone that is over there. One of the biggest things is, starting off with Hamas, is this is a group that was actually elected in by the Palestinians, which is really scary. If we go back many, many years, this is something that has happened before. Back in the day, it was the PLO, which is the Palestine Liberation Organization. Now, if you look at the size of Gaza as compared to Israel, you'll see, like, you have Saudi Arabia that's humongous, that has tons of space. You have, who is it next to him? Egypt and Syria. And there are hundreds and thousands of miles of space that is out there that these people really could have been in. Well, they were. And because of the PLO, these are things that they would move into a particular country, and then they wanted more space. They wanted this. They wanted that. And that's kind of what got this whole ball of wax going. Eventually, the PLO were done. They were eliminated. They had nowhere to go. The Palestinians had really nowhere to go. Israel opened up the Gaza Strip there, and the Jewish people have always been like a nomadic group. So they went into Gaza. The Palestinians at this point in time were not allowed to be in any of the other countries. So Israel opened up their borders and they said, okay, you guys can hang out in the Gaza Strip. And that's where everything is at. And again, the whole thing is that with Hamas doing what they did, it's not the Palestinian people that are protecting Hamas. It's Hamas that is infiltrated, and they are with the population at this point in time. Over here in America, we look at life and things like that completely different than the way that Hamas and other terrorist groups look at places and people and things like that. They don't value life the way that we do. They feel that life is more of a sacrifice to move up to the next realm of whatever you want to call it. So that's kind of brief history on everything. Did I miss anything?
There's quite a few things, but yeah. I mean,
right.
I'm not. When you're ready for me to go.
Go ahead, man. Hop on in.
Go. All right. So first of all, Hamas, and this is how they've defined Hamas. All right, in the media and online, Hamas is a Palestinian Sunni Islamic political and military movement governing the Israel-occupied Gaza Strip since 2007. Now, you did not hear the word terrorist organization, which right off the bat is bullshit. All right. Now, when you talk about Hamas, you also got to talk about Fatah. So Fatah was formerly the PLO and is now the Palestinian National Liberation Movement, and they're kind of a splinter group off of PLO. Now, here is the establishment of the Gaza. Now we're talking about the Gaza Strip, but we're also talking about the West Bank, all right, which is also Palestine occupied territory. All right, so in 2005. Israel withdrew from the Gaza Strip and West Bank, removed all their settlements, and gave it to them. Now here's where we're getting into some crazy shit. Now, in 2006, elections were held between Fatah and Hamas. Palestinian people voted Hamas in. Immediately when Hamas was voted in, here they are, and this is Hamas, started going through the streets of Gaza and all this stuff and terrorizing the people immediately once they got into power. All right? So now you have a completely terrorist organization administration running Palestine. Now, let me move on. In 2007, as you can plainly see, 2007, Hamas, now in power, began to terrorize the citizens of Gaza and the West Bank. Hamas military went through the streets. They implemented tyrannical rules and religious mandates on the Palestinian people. Okay? Now, again, Palestinian people, you do feel sorry for you, but again, at the end of the day, you voted in Hamas. All right. Now, one more thing I'm going to do that this I'm getting ready to bring up right here. Nobody talks about. You've hardly ever heard it in the news. Okay. So this is from 2000. Oh, we got a lockdown. All right, I'm going to read this is 2010. All right, this is it's really less than 3 years after Hamas took over Palestine. So these are Hamas sympathizers, whatever, and here is Palestinians. So here you go, right here. So Palestinian citizens reached out, and you can see this is you can see it right here, right above heads, 2010. The Fatah asked Israel, they reached out to Israel to help them remove Hamas from Gaza less than 3 years after they voted him in. Now, if Israel was the tyrants, the freaking slaughterers and butchers of whatever, why would Palestinian citizens reach out to Israel to have them remove Hamas? This is something that you never ever see in around 2010. Go look it up. You won't see it. Now you'll find something in the lower but NBC never reported on this shit. CNN, whatever, MSNBC, whatever, never reported on the shit that the Israel or the Palestinian people asked Israel for help. Israel said, we cannot. Our hands are tied. If we forcefully remove Hamas from Palestine, then everybody else, Hamas is freaking terrorizing our people. And they reached out to Israel. They didn't reach out to Egypt. They didn't reach out to Jordan or Syria or Libya. Of course we know because they were occupied by Al Qaeda and stuff. But you're going to reach out to the supposed butchers of your people to help you,
right?
So,
well, correct me. I don't know, but correct me if I'm wrong.
You're
but
right.
When this whole, I usually am. But when this whole thing occurred, that actually the Fatah or whatever, the remnants of the PLO was actually the West Bank and the Golan Heights, that they were in charge of that area, and in Hamas, the people on the Gaza Strip went into power. They voted into power Hamas because they didn't want Fatah, because Hamas doesn't have any control over the West Bank or the Golan Heights. They're strictly all in the Gaza Strip, from what I understand.
Incorrect.
They're not
voted. They're not voted in as the administration.
Because even on that,
they have a bunch of people in Fatah or in the West Bank.
Well, because even in your article it says the Palestinian president Abbas from Fatah was begging Israel for the article you just had.
That was in 2010.
Right.
That's changed since now.
So, because the only reason why I'm saying this is because you don't hear anything of Hamas. There's no attacks in the West Bank or the Golan Heights.
Correct. There are not.
But in Hamas had all that time to build all those intricate tunnels, and see, that's why I have the issue
because because you're not going to take because the West Bank is, if you look at Israel from the West Bank on, or at the edge of their West Bank on, that's not where they want to implement any kind of, because that's all like farmland, where this and the other. That doesn't do them any good. They attack from the Gaza because that goes right there where you talk about Jerusalem, Tel Aviv. Well, Tel Aviv is a little bit north, but that affects that part of it. They're wanting, they just don't want to live in peace. That's the problem. So yeah, so no. Are they in charge of it? No. In West Bank, do they have a heavy influence? Yes. Yeah, they've kind of in a soft, or I would say strong hand, but not a violent hand, have implemented kind of a little bit into Gaza or West Bank.
So I mean, as far as like the voting them in, was it more or less like the Russia's voting, where it was basically, you're either going to vote for.
Well, all of Putin's opposition was shot, or they were thrown in jail, and
right.
see, I would say I'm going to say no, and the only reason I say that is because Hamas did not have the footprint in 2006 when they started had their elections, that Russia obviously has in, or that Putin's people and KGB and everybody else, they're not KGB anymore. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, that of the influence they have in Russia. Hamas did not have that major of a whatever footprint in there, because it wasn't until they got to power they started shipping in all their people.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, if I remember correct, I think at that time period was the PLO government at the time, or whatever, or Fatah, or whatever they called themselves, were looked at as weak.
Gotcha.
They started losing. It's like they were losing their power amongst the people, and that was kind of used against them because of the negotiating with the Israeli government at the time, or whatever. And they were like kind of. That's my opinion. That's my thing. I think they were looked at as weak. So you had the guy from Hamas come in and say, "Look, look at all these concessions that he's making to the Israelis to set up. We're not going to allow that." So you get to Palestinian, and they're like, "Oh, yay, who we got there with the little emoji?"
I can't see because our thing's all jacked.
Aramath or Apamath, but I like that little
jumping around. But let's not as far, if people are not educated, let's not kid ourselves in the simple fact that PLO was a wonderful organization.
Right.
They were a terrorist organization up until
they
signed the peace treaty back whenever.
But they were also like Fidel Castro's regime, in the simple fact that there was tons of human rights violations, killings and all that kind of crap. So it's not like the PLO was, saints.
No, because you had Yasser Arafat was one of the biggest.
Yeah, he was
terrorist.
He was like
guys
Castro. Before. He was a piece of shit.
Or is that Castro? Or I mean, what's his name? What did I say? I forgot. That's just that quick.
Arafat?
Yasser Arafat
or
Gollum from Lord of the Rings. I can't tell. They look the same.
Jesus. So, well, let me throw this one out there. What do you guys think? Like, Hamas gets demoralized, it's all over with. Are we going to be looking at this again in the future with another PLO, another Hamas?
It's with the Middle East, and it's nonstop. You cannot. Because you get rid of one, and it leaves a vacuum for somebody else to come in and fill. And, it's like with Al Qaeda. For the most part, Al Qaeda got whacked. So then what happens? You had ISIS. ISIS filled that vacuum. They came in, so they're nuts. No offense.
The problem is you're dealing with an ideology.
Yes.
Rather than, so you have a lot of people who aren't radical, but who still at least believe or support the actions that a lot of the radicals take, because they still believe in that certain ideology that everybody else is infidels and therefore should not exist on the planet. And that's you're not going to overcome that kind of ideology. So the simple fact that that we keep trying, U.S. keeps trying to do like we did in Japan, where we destroyed Japan or whatever, and we rebuilt them. Or rebuilt Japan, and now we have Japan as an ally, this and the other. That is never will it ever work in the Middle East. It will not, because you are still with people who have such a different ideology than you. It's never going to happen.
Well, they have a different ideology amongst each other. Even
when
you're
Sunnis
dealing with
the
two different
Shiites.
And the Shiites. Iran, Iraq, they were fighting against each other for years, decades, and it was all about the ideology of, and that's why Saudi Arabia can't, Sunni or whatever, can't stand Iran. Would love to see Iran blown off the map, because then they would take, then they're the kingpins, but Iran is Shia and Saudi is Sunni, and they just do not.
And in that ideology, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yes.
So they
play both sides.
They will marinate with each other and tolerate, or I won't even say tolerate. They help each other out against
the West.
But if it came down to if the West didn't exist anymore, they would go, and they've been fighting for thousands of years. It's ridiculous. I know part of. Let me see where I was going. All right. So here's what I want to go into real quick as well. This right here is Gaza. This is before. This was in 2004, 2003. Okay. Now I want you to see how it is. Okay. Here's Gaza again. Same time period. Here it is again.
Isn't that nice?
Same time period. Okay. Again, look, people in suits walking around. Everybody seems to be just great, right? So this is what Hamas is saying is that that Israel, one of the big reasons why they attacked Israel is because they're saying that Israel has this militaristic hold on their people. Are dying in the streets, people are starving to death. That's why because of Israel's blockade. Israel's blockade say, no, we're just blockading so you can't bring weapons back and forth, jackass. It does, agricultural stuff goes right through, but they're telling you that they're suffering and stuff. And so that lies the issue. It's like bullshit, dude, bullshit. This one right here, this one 5 foot. This was in July of 2023, and as Hamas prepares military drill in Gaza Strip, they were already preparing to attack Israel before October.
Gotcha. All
right. So this is kind of the thing. Now here's some aftermath of the attacks. Like Evil Ed talked about, Nova Music Festival was the start. That wasn't the only thing. They went through systematically. They went through people's homes. And so we're not talking about, and not saying that one's better than the other, but when you say bomb or you fire missiles into an enemy's city or whatever settlement, I'm not saying that's better, but that's faceless. Okay, I'm blowing people up. I don't really see it. This right here was systematic. This was door to door, room to room, clearing and killing people face to face. I'm not saying that says bombing's better. What I'm saying is it takes even a greater type of evil for you to go in, and I'm talking about families. I'm not talking about soldiers. I'm talking about these Hamas soldiers went into families, mothers, children, grandparents, and just shot them. And you can see bullet holes. You see all the blood on the floor. This is not, and there is the Nova Music Festival. So we're not talking about just bombing and whatever else. We're talking about systematically going in, shooting and killing and kidnapping whoever else. And that's all I had. So that's my big thing is when people try to bring up a lot of the past of Israel and Hamas and Palestine and this and the other. Okay, yeah, there is a history, and it kind of goes back and forth, and we can debate that all damn day. At the end of the day, you had a attack that was not warranted, where you systematically went in face to face and killed people right in front, and they raped and killed. They got documented evidence of that shit. So it wasn't like just whatever. And now, I know we're not going to get into it, and now we have so many of these fucking ignorant ass fucking kids over here in college that are flying the Palestinian flag, and it's like,
oh, don't forget they're wearing their scarves.
Oh, the scarf, yeah.
Everybody's got a fucking scarf now. It's a fucking
so
fashion
you go on Amazon, and you see the shamaks and all that stuff, and they got people taking pictures of it on and say, this is my representation of them. I'm like, people are such a piece of shit. Anyway, so that's my whole thing, and with it, because, and believe me, I could go on. This was a hot topic for me. I could go on and on all damn day on this shit, and anyway, because I've served with some of the I've served with soldiers in Israel, or Israeli soldiers, and I've been there and helped out all type of Arabic Muslim people, and there's a difference. There's a difference. I'm just going to leave it at that and just say, there's a difference in how they act and ideology and this. Not all, obviously. Not all.
Right.
But yeah, that's my thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is really interesting because you don't hear about this stuff, and that kind of goes back to what I was saying before, is that, people hear stuff and see stuff on the media, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is true. You guys believe it, so therefore I'm going to believe it as well, and I'm going to follow suit.
It's not necessarily even the media anymore. It's everybody. Nobody watches the media anymore except for people our age. They did this thing. It's like Gen X and baby boomers are the only ones that watch MSNBC, CNN, and Fox. All the Gen Zers and millennials get all their news from social media, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. That's so.
TikTok.
What's scary as it is, they supposedly had these news feeds on TikTok that are real. It's real. Because I was watching, they were bashing about media. They were like, well, the media, and yes, the media on all sides now is pretty much skewed. It's not me. It's opinion pieces anymore. It's not even news. But the only ones that watch it are old people. They say they did these surveys where young people, they don't watch Fox. They don't watch MSNBC. They get all their shit from social media. So you got some bimbo that's on there that with her little mask on or whatever, saying, "Oh, this is what's happening," and and they're like, "Oh, I believe her." Follow, like, and that's the problem. Is the old saying, if it's on the internet, it must be true.
Right.
Well, there you go. And that's where it's coming from. They even talk to a lot of these protesters.
Right.
And they were like, well, how did you know to come here or whatever? Oh, I got it off of my social media feed. From this person that knows this person or whatever. And it was on TikTok that we were supposed to protest here. And there you go.
And they asked, what are you protesting?
Yeah, they asked that one woman. She's like, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just here for Palestine. Well, what's going on in the world or over there between Israel and Palestine that you find offensive or that you want to support? I'm just for Palestine.
Well, yes, because they didn't know why that was. Because they were like, well, why are y'all protesting the school? I'm not sure. It's what's going on over there.
Right.
and here's my thing, and I know we're not getting into the school thing, but we do have some time. My thing is, when you have these piece of shit elitist deans or presidents or whatever of these schools, and you allow this shit to even gain a foothold, that right there, you should shut that shit down right off the bat. But they let it go, and like what's her name, old skank from Colombia, right, had her in Congress with testifying. She's like, well, we probably should have. No, you probably shouldn't. Enough. Yeah, you should have done. You had people that were threatening, Jewish kids, even people who weren't Jewish,
right,
said it was just free. I didn't even want to. I was scared to even go anywhere near that shit.
Right.
Well, look, they went after some skanky bimbo went after Alec Baldwin in the coffee shop.
Yes.
It was like, she's like, aren't you for Palestine or whatever? He's like, I'm just getting a coffee, bitch.
Right.
I have my own problems going on. I just shot.
Yeah.
I just shot somebody on a news set, and I'm an asshole. When you're asking me about Palestine, and he went outside, slapped her in the face. So, but I mean,
that was the only time I actually
rooted for
Alec Baldwin.
Other than that and Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's just.
Do we want to jump into the
we
school?
can jump in a little bit.
So. Okay.
Go ahead, go.
This is my hot topic here. I mean, this whole. So. I like the way that we started this with the history, because the problem is that people don't know
They aren't getting taught history.
Right. Well, they don't know really what the hell is going on. You know, if people knew exactly the information that you just put out there, it would be a completely different story. And that's the problem, is that has never been put out there. So kind of going back to the media real quick, my Michael, my brother-in-law, he showed me a website, and it's called Channel One, and it is a news website that's AI-based. So basically, the voices are of real human beings, but the people that are on there are AI generated. And they could make something with the three of us, looks exactly the same as the three of us, with someone else talking, and it would be us, which is pretty scary. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that are against the truth as compared to what is the truth. So I guess my question is, and this is, I'm big into philosophy, I'll keep throwing that one out there. This is a question that has gone on, I want to say, like since the 50s. And when is too much freedom? What is too much freedom? Now, in this case, we're going to talk about the protesting and everything like that. You know, there's, in my opinion, there is like a razor's edge. I mean, we're talking, what is it, Occam's razor or something like that.
Yeah.
And the question is just like you would propose, as far as the schools go, the administration goes in these schools, like when do you say enough is enough? I mean, eventually you're going to have to break a couple eggs to make an omelet.
I like breaking eggs.
I like omelets.
There we go. So, I mean, what do you guys think, in your opinion, as far as freedom of speech? We'll stick with that.
Well, first off, people have got to understand, and I'm getting so sick and tired of this. Freedom of speech, for the most part, is applicable in the government with a big G, prohibiting the speech of individuals. It has nothing to do. All these people want to sit there and say, "Well, you're violating my free speech. You're violating." Is the government involved? Well, no. Sheila over there just told me I have to shut up. Well, then that's not you. You're not. That's not necessarily a right guaranteed by the Constitution. However, I do think that people do have a right to speech unless it incites violence. That's one thing that's always been taught. You can say what you want to say. You can go out there and lie till you're blue. You can lie about shit till you're blue in the face or whatever. But the minute you get up there and start trying to incite violence against somebody else, or to try and overthrow the overthrowing of a government or whatever like that, you're done. You're done. And as far as what I'm concerned, the protest is concerned, I don't have, if you want to wave a sign and shit like that, that's fine. But the minute you start occupying space, breaking into buildings like they did in Columbia, where they broke in the building.
There was a library, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So, no occupying property, not allowing other students go to class, threatening other students, blocking them from going to class. There's no protection. You're not protected. If you just have a sign and you protest, you're wearing a little scarf, you're wearing your little mask, or your Hadid or Habib or whatever to put something over your face. You know what? I know half the women out there, you need to put more cover over your face. That's all, I guess. But anyway, yours is ugly. What? Anyway, I was just saying. But anyway, but as far as that's concerned, that I don't have a problem with that. But you start occupying space, you start breaking into buildings, you interrupting classes for people from other students from going, because you all aren't the whole freaking college. Not everybody at the college agrees with you. So it's like, all these other kids are going there to want to learn or graduate or take their fine, and they can't even do that now. So that's where I'm like, no. And you're right. You're absolutely right. The administrators really dropped the ball on this big time. But then the question comes into play is what do you, if it's a private college, compare it to a public college? You know, public college you can definitely see because that's public money, that's state money, that's nix it. But if it's a private college, money's given by mom and dad to the school. We have a building named after us. It's like how much authority do you have at a private university compared to a public?
Gary, what do you think?
Get ready.
My thing is that to me it's not that. I don't think it's at a razor's edge. To me, it's cut and dry. It's whenever you get to a point where you either intimidate, threaten, or you prevent somebody's
movement or free will,
or their ability to do their everyday life, enjoy their life, whatever it may be. So, for instance, if you had a couple people out there off in the lawn, whatever, saying whatever they want to say, that's fine. That's fine. When you have a group of, like, say, 30, hey, Rodri.
Hey, Rodri!
When you have, say, a group of, like, say, 30, 40, 50 who are blocking people's ability to even just go down the freaking sidewalk and go to class or whatever else, and you're what do you call it? Threatening them and this and the other. You're done. You're done. And it should have been nipped in the bud immediately. But they've allowed. I can go all the way back to. I know we're talking about the colleges for the Palestinian protesters. Sure. I could go back to BLM, George Floyd bullshit. I can go. I don't know. I can go wherever you want me to go and say anything that was ever done, because it went from it was never just one or two people out there just say whatever. It was immediately boom. It was a freaking forest fire. And at that point, it was never, ever, and it got to the point where it's never, ever about the actual subject or whatever it is.
Right.
Now, I don't know if it's part of your thing, if you're going to talk about who was actually at the colleges doing this.
No, keep going.
So it was, yes, there was students. However, if you look, especially Columbia, especially at, not MIT, one MIT they kind of did, what's the other one?
You had UCLA, that was a big one in there.
UCLA.
Yes, Rodri.
Yeah, we already went through the whole Hamas versus whatever. We did that already. But the thing is, when they started, arresting people who wouldn't do it, they found a lot. Like probably at least half of the people that were there weren't even students at that college. They were what they considered paid protagonists. They even got one of their vehicles. There was freaking rocks. There was all kind of shit, hammers. There was all kind of shit in their thing. Now, if that's a peaceful protest, and I'm just here to express my opinion that I think the Palestinian people are being wronged, what does that have to do with rocks, hammers, baseball bats? And why are we bringing it? And so these stupid ass kids who are, and I'm going to call them fucking stupid. These professional protagonists brought in, and they would just took it hook, line, and sinker, like Tex said they do about social media. These professionals came in and said, "Well, this and the other." They're paid, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
These people are paid.
And who do they get paid from?
Well, there's a lot of places, but if you go and go through the path and find out, you'll see a lot of that is done by George Soros. So
I think it's sore ass.
Yeah, it's probably he needs a sore ass. He needs to
I think a lot of the financing now, and a lot of this is coming from a lot of your Middle Eastern backed groups, and I would not.
Well, they are channeling.
The Saudis are probably also shelling a shitload of money into this whole thing too, because they're loving it. This is all it's a propaganda war, and we're losing it. they're winning.
Yeah.
Because they're funneling this money in, and they're kicking back and laughing their ass off. They're like, look at these privileged elite white kids over there protesting for, want Israel to fall, and they're It's like, we love it.
Yeah.
Right there in the heart of good old United States.
Yeah.
And they said then we got these two old geezers running for president that can't fucking agree with anything. And they're like, and calling each other names, and the kids are sitting there running amok on the campus, and you've got everybody in the Middle East, Russia, loving it because they know, let them be preoccupied. It's going to give us time to swoop in and take care of Ukraine, and then fucking Israel's going to be left alone to fend for themselves, and they're going to have Hezbollah coming down. Hezbollah's just buying their time from up there in Lebanon. We haven't even talked about them. They're just buying their time. And then Israel's going to be left alone because we can't even get our shit together.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Touching back on the Black Lives Matter, I believe it was in Chicago that they had found when they went back through all of the security surveillance and everything that there were trucks that were dropping off like pallets full of bricks.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, it's a shame that it has to go that way. Now, there's a few different protesters that I would love to throw out there that I'm kind of a little intimidated to throw out there. You've had marches with the KKK, and they've walked through the middle of suburban cities that they probably shouldn't have been walking through. But the thing of it is that they packed up and left. Both sides of the party packed up and left, and they went home. Now, we don't have that. We don't have the packing up. We're going to pack in. I'm going to be on your front doorstep because I don't believe in something that you do. And that's okay. I think the whole administration in any of these colleges, you can take your pick, is bullshit. I mean, I look at it this way. I've always looked at things like a job, for instance. When you get into a new job, you go to a company, any company, and it's like, you know what, this place was fucked up long before I started here, and it's going to be fucked up long after I'm gone. But if I can put my fingerprint on it, I want to do that. I want to make something positive out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it just, I was looking back at these schools, and it's just kind of like, well, all these colleges have been doing what they've been doing far before we were even thought about. Yeah, there's ties to everything in every single college. It's about making money. It's not always about the education. It's about making the money.
Mm-hmm.
And this has gone on long before these kids ever came there. And I would pretty much guarantee you that it's going to happen long after. The names are going to change, things like that, but it's the same dance, just different actors in it. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm just completely baffled by what has gone on. I mean, seriously, when we were kids, we respected the police. We respected other people. I can remember somebody's dad whipping my ass because I was on his car.
Yeah, we have.
And it's like we learned respect and we learned that enough is enough. But I just kind of feel like now that, it's okay. You guys do what you want to do because I don't want to offend anybody. So I was also thinking about, you made the decision to go to these colleges. Somebody didn't show up at the kids' houses one day with a gun and police and SWAT gear and everything and removed them from your home and forced you to go to a college dorm on whatever college doorstep that they decided to put you in. So you guys made this decision. It wasn't forced upon you. Are you the problem? Are the students the problem? I mean, think about it this way. If you want to go to college, you either get a scholarship, you either have rich parents, or you take out a loan and you pay for it yourself.
Yep.
So you guys have been putting towards this funding since day one, and you're going to continue to fund it until the college loans are paid off or anything on how that goes. So I think the whole thing needs to be internalized and look at what the hell are you thinking?
I'm going to go. I think I'm going to give most of the students a pass.
Really?
Because you know why?
Why?
They have to get it from somebody. And it's, look at some of the professors, the tenured professors and stuff, that what they're teaching them in these schools. That's where it starts. When you ask about, like when Cuz was talking about the history between what was going on between Israel and the Palestinians, how come that's not being where's that gap? How come that's not being talked about in schools? Where is the history? And they were, it's funny, I watch these shows and watch these people just going on the streets, and they're talking to these kids about just general history, not about this, but general history. And it's like, there was one, it's like, can you name me 5 U.S. presidents? They can usually name the last 2 that were in office. Other than that, and they go to the old standby, Lincoln and Washington. Okay, can you name anybody else in between? They don't know. They have no clue. They couldn't name. And there's a disconnect somewhere as far as that, like teaching the history is concerned. And college professors were right out there egging on these students. There was, I don't know how many college professors were also out there, got arrested, and they thought it was great. And it's like, what are you teaching these kids? And you would be surprised at what they are teaching them in the classroom. And naturally, when you have an audience there, and you have this guy up there, and he's got these PhDs, I've got this and this, and I'm going to tell you about all the shit that the Jews have done throughout the sands of time to screw over humanity. And he starts spewing his hatred, and you have a captive audience. They eat it up. We're going to have a test on it, and next thing, so yes, there's a lot of students should be held accountable or whatever like that, but I also think that, especially with these elitist institutions, a lot of the educators are also, there was one, and I don't know if you've heard about it, but there was one up in like Minnesota or whatever like that, who called, he's been a teacher, he's been a professor, and he's called for the eradication of the Jewish state of Israel. And and I think he's like one of the Louis Farrakhan followers or whatever like that. But he's a tenured professor. So now, of course, now he's running his mouth with all this stuff going on, and it's like, how can you keep your position? How can you let somebody teach? Can you imagine a white professor teaching about how white people are superior and that everybody else is stupid, and and all? Can you imagine? Oh, hell no! He'd be like fired, but going against somebody else, we can't touch him. We can't, because the teacher's black. We can't fire him, because then he'll think it's racist or whatever, discrimination. But yet he can sit there and talk about the eradication of the Jewish state to his students. I'm just saying. So yes, I agree. Going back briefly, I do. Yes, there are some responsibility and blame that needs applied to the students, but I think more of it, what the hell's going on with the education, and the educators, especially at the college level, that teach this shit, need to be held accountable. Because you do choose who you get to be, who teaches your class. In high school and stuff, you're just stuck with whoever you're stuck with. In college, you get to pick. And if you don't like the guy that's teaching the class, you can sit there and say, "You're an idiot. I'm going to go over to this person's class." And you can do that in college. Can't do that in high school and stuff like that. So I blame the educators in college.
Okay. What you got, Gary?
I'm not that easy.
That's not what I heard.
I think these people. I think there's enough going around where these kids can make a determination on their own. It's not like they're stupid.
Right.
They lack common sense. I mean, they're freaking morons in that aspect, but they're intelligent, right? The simple fact that to tell. So, for instance, they may not know, or they may not be able to tell you who all these presidents are, but it's not so much in the fact that they don't know because they're not intelligent enough to know. It's because they think that there were slave owners or everything else. So I'm not even going to deal. I'm not even going to even try to learn who they are or what they're about.
Okay.
It has to do with their perception of things. See, the problem is perception of what history is or was, perception of what's going on nowadays. It's so skewed because everybody, it might even be better if they watched Fox, CNN, and everything else as opposed to the social media shit.
Right.
Right. It might even be better if they watched that, even though whatever. But it's like but the shit that they're getting from these people are, and here's the thing that people do not understand. A lot of these influencers, all right, whether that be an individual or they have like little groups going around and stuff, are paid for this shit. And they influence these kids, and these kids are stupid enough to go for this from what they say, right? But the problem is, at the end of the day, you have to be, at some point, able to take accountability and responsibility for the decisions you're making, regardless of who's influencing you, right? If you don't have the common sense, all right, to validate what's real and what's not, that's on you, all right? Now, granted, there are a lot of influencers out there, professors and everybody else, who are taking, the wrong road in what they're teaching or whatever else. But at the end of the day, it's almost like, and I'm probably going to do a comparison. It's probably not going to be the same, but it's almost like when somebody commits a crime,
mm-hmm.
but they're on drugs. Well, they were on drugs, so almost like, okay, well, we don't really hold him accountable because he didn't really know what he was doing. He took the fucking drugs, did what he did, or he had a freaking 12-pack and then drove and killed that family.
Right. He wasn't in a right frame of mind.
Right. So it's almost like they're going to take these kids and say, well, they're only expressing their opinions and what they think and this and the other. Now, you've at some point have made that switch has gone off in your head to where common sense was at one point or something, and then you've made that switch to say, I think, whatever. And especially when you have gays and transsexuals and all this support wearing the Palestinian flag on them and talking how they support Palestine. It's like, bruh,
go over there and do that.
They would kill you in a second.
Right.
You dumbass.
Right.
They don't believe in your rights. So it's just, that's what I'm saying.
That's right, Rodri.
I agree. No, see, critical thinking. So I'm saying, it's just like the news, right? Instead of presenting the news, say, here's what happened, blah, blah, blah. Let you make your own determination of whatever. Critical thinking should be, hey, this is what I need you to do, all right? Regardless of how you come out on the other side of what you believe or what you're, whatever. I at least want to teach you what happens between here and there. And what critical thinking is, and being able to take these aspects or whatever it is, or the news, whatever, and do research and find out what really is the deal. And then at the end of that, once you have all the facts, because you've researched them and whatever you come out at the end of that road, at least at that point, I can at least respect your decision. I may not agree with it, but at least I respect it because you do the due diligence to come through all the stuff. And if at the end of the day we disagree, I still respect your opinion.
Right.
But not when you're just going half cocked and looking at it just coming off with stupid bullshit that has no truth at all. And that's how you made your decision. And now, not only have you made your decision, now you've chosen to take action on it. And block a street or this or that. I won't even get into the whole thing about where they're blocking the streets, and they were talking about how people were, like, people with medical conditions that were trying to get through, and this, that, and the other, and they couldn't get through because people are blocking and stuff. That right there that's like I said, that's not even the razor's edge.
That's where you draw the line.
That's black and white.
That's where you cross the line.
Right.
And but you should be able to just rip right through it. But then you know what? Then you're a murderer and blah blah blah. Yeah.
Right.
Yet the old lady in the ambulance over here just died because the ambulance couldn't get through because you blocked the fucking street.
And here's where we get into, there's a couple different things, but causality.
Yes.
Now, with causality, there is always you made a decision to do something, and here's the effect. You are either a hero or you're a complete idiot. Now, going by that, I thought it was pretty interesting. I forget what college it was, but it was like a law school. And there were some students that were told flat out, like, no, you're never going to be a lawyer because of what you said or what you have done with this whole college campus protesting. Did you guys hear about that?
Yeah.
I did not hear about.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah, and rightfully so. Just like journalism originally was meant to be, I'm going to give you information just like you had touched on, and it's your privilege to figure out what side of the fence you want to be on. I am not going to influence you. 2 + 2 = 4, and you can figure out the rest. If you have a disagreement or you believe in that, then you're good for that. But that has changed.
Well, yeah, it used to be that newspapers were always biased, but it used to be, it's like, okay, well, if you had a story that they didn't like,
right,
you just got put on, instead of getting the cover page, you got put on page 20.
Right.
They still kept the story intact, but they tried to hide you in the back part of the newspaper.
Right.
But the news was the news.
Correct.
So they still had their bias, but it was news was the news. They had their opinions. That's what they called them, opinion sections.
Yeah.
They give their opinion on stuff.
Sure.
So
And that's
not anymore.
Yeah, it's the same thing when you see these reels on, TikTok or Facebook or anything like that, that here's an hour-long object that happened. This situation happened. But you're not going to know how it started. You're only going to see the middle part. You don't know how it ended. So you make up your own ending to every single story. And I think that's a lot of what is going on now. And I think that's what helped to put us in the situation that we are in now with the whole college thing and things like that. And it's scary. And I know I'm sounding like my grandparents, but yeah, this is really some scary stuff. And if you're not going to do your research, and if you're just going to believe what is out there, because you guys said it's true, so yeah, I'm with you. I don't know, these guys told me, and it's scary. But you have these, I don't want to call them kids, but they're young adults that, I really don't think they understand the whole part of this, of what has been created. I mean, right now, history is being changed as far as what goes on in the future. If I get, like I said, if I get pissed off and I don't like something you did, you offended me somehow, I'm going to camp right out in front of your house. And that's okay. Because these guys at Berkeley were allowed to do it.
Well, yeah, and see now, because it's, everybody's like, well, how come they didn't do that back in the day? Well, you didn't know anybody's address back in the day.
Right.
Like,
well,
to begin with, now, this doxing, this whole problem with doxing that's going on now, which is what you're talking about, where they're going in front of the houses or whatever. They just had another, the one dean or whatever, that was pro-Palestinian people outside of her house, right there on her lawn.
Right.
But they had everybody's address. You can find out everybody's address online now.
Right.
You pay not there's all these other mylife.com, all these other peoplefinder.com. You pay them like $5 and it tells you everything, and there's nothing anybody can do. It's public knowledge. Everybody's address, everybody's phone number, your cell phone number can be found online. and there's nothing you can do about it. And so they look this up. You have these people that look this up. They dox them, and it's happening on both sides. Well, that's how they do all the swatting too.
Right.
You know, this whole swatting crap. But anyway, the doxing where they find these houses like the Supreme Court justice's house and all this other shit. You never had that back in the day.
No.
Now but now you're right. They're going to your house, you know, with your kids.
Oh yeah.
Yelling at your kids and stuff like that.
Right. So, I guess the other thing, going back into history, you know, we're talking about what's going on over in Israel, but you know, the protesting and things that are happening over here. Let's go back to 1968 with the protests of the Vietnam War. What's different now as to what happened back then? Like, what made that different than what we have right now as far as the protesting goes? I was kind of looking at it this way. So back in the Vietnam War, whether you agree with it or not, which most people didn't agree with it, you had it wasn't a voluntary, it was a mandatory draft at the time. So the protesting at that point in time was about, we need to get the hell out of Vietnam, and no, I don't want to be drafted against my will. We had skin in the game. Well, not we, but, you know, as Americans, there was skin in the game. You have something that's going on overseas, and the students, it wasn't even about the fact that there was a war going on. They weren't advocating for a ceasefire. They were advocating about the fact that the schools were basically pumping money into Israeli companies, or companies that were affiliated and giving money to, I don't know, like any company that would build like not really a warhead, but like a Stinger missile and things like that. That's what they were against. So as far as the war in Israel, it's a shame that it's going on. I understand why it's going on, but technically, as Americans, we don't really have any skin in the game. Where when it came back to the Vietnam War, we did have skin in the game, because it may have been any of us that would have been drafted next, or, you know, with children or kids, you know, little Johnny may have been drafted next because he was in that prime age at that point in time.
Well, I think two things real quick, and I think that has made accelerated of that is social media,
right?
And what Cuz brought up about ideology. It's a propaganda. We are fighting propaganda right now. This ideology that, you know, that Palestinians are in. There was a show I saw the other day, and the guy brought up a brilliant point. He's like, why are so many people against Israel? Why are all these people, why are these different groups, the Middle East against Israel? And he brought up some good points, and he said this whole culture right now is of victimization. And right now, everybody wants to be a victim, and if the victims need to be looked after, and we need to rally around the victims. Israel's looked at as a colonizer, like the United States, like Great Britain, like all these quote unquote the colonizers. So Israel's our colonizer. The Palestinian peoples are the victim. So we need to rally around the victims. And another interesting point he brought up, and he said, look, what appearance do most Israelis have about them? They're white looking. He said, then that's another reason why you have a lot of people that are, and besides going through history, you still have even like the radical fundamentalist Christians who will hate the Jews because they still blame them for the crucifixion of Christ, and the complete disregard that he's the Son of God. So they're like, well, you're all heretics. We don't want anything to do with you anyway either. Then you had the other side they're like, so it was an interesting point. I think it's ideology compared to Vietnam. And Vietnam overall was a lot of it. Most of what you heard out of that was peaceful. Yes, there was violent protests back then as well. Most of it was just the signs and stuff like that. And you're right. They just, I don't think the kids wanted to go to war.
Right.
They didn't want to get drafted. What do we have to do with this?
Right.
Where were the protests when the schoolgirls were kidnapped in Nigeria by Boko Haram? And how come there wasn't more people out on the streets? We don't have skin in that game either.
Right.
But yet, so it's who dictates, pick and choose of which ones to protest and which ones not?
The media.
Yeah.
And the ones that support the media or fund the media.
Right. Because I guess my other question is too, when you go back to the whole Vietnam protesting thing, there was tear gas and things like that were fired off, and they, people scattered.
Well, that's because the police back then didn't give shit. They were in there like they didn't have the lawsuits and the cameras like we do now. They went in there and took care of business. And
well, I mean, my question is how come that wasn't done now? To a certain extent, maybe not to that extreme, but why wasn't there a forceful action taken up front as to, okay, you guys have been here for like a month, you've now set up shop, we're getting ready to have a graduation, so you guys are against that, you're against the school, so you decided to make an encampment where we're going to have that graduation at. Why wasn't anything done prior to that? Like, what do you think, in both of your opinions, what do you think could have been done, or how it should have been handled prior to that happening?
I'll let him answer that. You don't want me to answer that.
yeah,
No, actually, we do want you to answer
I
it.
talked enough the last time.
You don't want me to answer that. You can go ahead and answer that.
Go ahead, man.
I see. It goes back to the statement you said, or the question you asked is, do we have too much freedom? Right. Well, I don't think we have too much freedom, but we have skewed what the definition or the meaning or what that freedom actually is. Again, the simple fact that you can disrupt a ceremony or whatever that's been planned, that people put money in this and the other because you don't agree with something that's happened or whatever else, and therefore you are allowed to do that. That to me is freaking ridiculous. You can be on the other side of the street and you can protest all you want, whatever, but as soon as you set up an encampment in there, it's fucking bullshit. All right? Me, I wouldn't mind. So if we want to go non-lethal, personally, I don't mind the lethal. If we're going to go non-lethal, let's get the Cambodian freaking water cannons in here and fuck them up. All right? We've gotten to a point where we have allowed the freaking what do you call it? The patients, what do they call them? Running the asylum.
Yeah, the inmates are now
inmates
running the
asylum. We've gotten to the point where there's no more law and order. They've even had cops stand down for certain stuff because they've had county or like city officials come in there and say, don't leave them alone. Then when they've done it, we've had freaking these piece of shit motherfucking prosecutors who refuse to prosecute, let them off, this, that, and the other. So it's like, where do you draw the line as far as what is now considered anything that you can take where you're promoting or keeping law and order?
Right.
Now it's a freaking whatever. So hell, I'll go. I'm good with allowing everybody to freaking carry. Let everybody carry, because at the end of the day, the cops, who I love the cops, they show up after it's done, or after the crime is done. So I need to get either shot or busted in my head 50 million times, and then we're gonna go. Oh, then we'll say we'll go and arrest Ed because we found out he was the one that did it. But the prosecutors, we're going to let that off because he was worked up in the moment and there was a whole thing going on and this, that, and the other. And I can bring you case after case after case when that's happened. And so I have no problem going back to freaking Wild Wild West and everybody's packing heat, because at that point you will get people who will toe the line more so than they won't, than people that won't. But that's something we can't have in a civilized society. As to the irony that we're calling what we are in today a civilized society.
Right.
That right there is what I find a fucking load of bullshit. This is a civilized society. Really? Is this what everybody and their mother fought for? Is this what the freaking Civil War, the guys that were trying to, abolitionists against slavery and stuff, and put their lives on the line and fought for this to get to this point and have this society being so unlawful and whatever else? Really? Is that what all the people went to war for, or people have fought for, or put their lives on the line for this shit? Really? Give me a fucking break.
I agree with you on that. I apologize that I was peeking through here. In my research, I came across something. I thought that I had copied it on here. One of the colleges, and I don't remember which one, I want to say the police had actually made, it was well over 1,000 arrests for, the protesting and everything. The school decided not to prosecute any of the people that were arrested.
Oh, you know why? They started getting phone calls from mommy and daddy. I believe Becky was in that protest, and you better drop the charges on her. Oh, that check I was about ready to write you. Oh, Mr. Johnson, yes, sir. We'll make sure we drop it, sir. Absolutely, sir. There's your answer.
But it goes back to what you were saying, is that we allow this to happen. We let things build up like these encampments on colleges, and then it's just like, okay, it's too late. Now we need to do something about it.
Look how long Seattle, they let those BLM, it was BLM protesters at first, and it turned into just a bunch of vagabonds and vagrants, occupy that one whole city section. They called it I can't remember what they even called it. Autonomous zone. And look how long, they stormed the police station, the whole 9 yards, and look how long it took them before they finally cleared that out.
It's still not cleared out.
No.
Businesses are gone.
Yep.
Right. Well,
they don't have the encampment or whatever, but it's
who's going back?
Still, it looks like a third world country.
Yeah. Causality.
So
in the real world, this is what happened. You guys destroyed everything. All the smart businesses decided to get the hell out, and now they're gone. And what have you achieved?
Well, and there again, too, my opinion is, and it's just opinion, that it goes back to this whole playing the victimization card. They've been victimized for so long that we need to start turning the tide on them and giving them a break, because we're all victims. They've been victims of police brutality, of systemic racism, victim. So when they go out and do something, it's like they think they have this carte blanche to go out. All right, well, go ahead and smash up some windows, and you can go ahead and loot and steal some stuff because you're a victim. You deserve it because you were just so downtrodden, and people have been pissing on you for 200 years. And I think there's a portion of our society that's why. Well, I know for a fact that's why you have these no bails and shit like that anymore, because you had this. And what started off as a good idea, because yes, back in the 80s and 90s, was there discrimination when it came to who was going to prison and who not? Absolutely. But then it's like, okay, well, we need to get rid of that. We need to start. But then it was a free-for-all. They didn't look at anything. Okay, so this person was charged with petty larceny or whatever. Okay, we'll just go. We'll get your court date or whatever. This person was charged with attacking 2 police officers and shooting, looting this and doing that, raping. Okay, well, we're just going to release you 2. We'll see you in court. It was like everybody. It's just, and the pendulum went way up here. And some cities like New York and stuff like that, it's still up here. And some cities I think have started to come back with the no cash bail and shit like that. But that's what it was. It's victimization. Everybody's a victim. If you came from the inner city, you're a victim. You know what? You have a right to go punch that woman in the face in New York City. Go up and punch that white woman in the face that's walking in the street, because you're a victim. And you know what? If the police catch you, I'm going to let you go, because you have been wronged for the past 50 years. So we're going to let you go, so you can go out and punch another white woman in the face walking in New York City. Because I don't know if you've been reading, that's a new thing in New York City now, where these thugs are just randomly going up and punching women. The one actor just got decked in the face.
Steve Buscemi. Yeah.
So it's like, and half of these people have been arrested before. The one immigrant that was fighting with the cop. Those immigrants that fought with the cop, and the guy was arrested. The one was arrested 3 times, and the district attorney in New York City or Manhattan let him go, because he's a victim. He's a victim, not the cops. The cops are the colonizers. The cops are the bad ones. They're the ones in uniform. That's my opinion. That's why I think you see a lot of what's going on, because they're just expressing themselves. They've been held down for so long. But then when you get the cameras and look how many lily white elitist people are in that crowd. Black Lives Matter. They showed it. Black Lives Matter. There's like 5 black people, and the rest of them are white. Just, what the fuck are you doing there? So, that's me.
So...
But that's it. That kind of goes back to your answers. That's my answering your question, is why they let it fester. Plus, our litigious society. We have so many lawyers. We have more lawyers than we have doctors. So everybody wants to sue everybody. So, there you go. I'm done.
And you will be.
And I am.
So I kind of agree with you, but I'm also going to disagree with you in the same fashion.
Okay.
I want to say now is more of like the blame game. My kid completely fucked up. It's not my fault. I wasn't there. Mm-hmm. It's your fault that he did it at school.
Not taking responsibility for your actions.
Right. And that's, I think, a lot of the reason as to what happened, or at least in my opinion, as to what happened with these whole college campus things. It's always somebody else's fault.
It's like that Senator Menendez, who's on trial right now, with the bribery shit, and they found the gold bars. Oh, that was my wife. That wasn't me.
Yeah.
That my wife had. So it's now they're after Justice Alito too, because supposedly he after January 6th or whatever, he had the American flag upside down.
Right.
And
10 years ago.
Yeah, he's like, well, that wasn't me. My wife hung it up. I didn't do it. My wife did.
Yeah.
So it's like you're right, and I agree with you on that.
Gary, you got any input on that one?
I would tend to agree and disagree with both of you.
Okay.
Slightly agree, slightly disagree. I think it comes from I think there is when I talked about ideology, I think there's an ideology here in the U.S. as well. And that ideology is, we don't believe in America as it has been for how many decades or how many centuries or whatever else. We feel, and I say we as in some of these white elitists, some of these, I don't know, whatever you want to call them. You don't really want to give them necessarily a label. They're just fuckheads. But
that's a good label.
I believe that the America should be run differently than it has been. All right. I believe everybody should be coming in. Every culture should be coming in. Whatever. America doesn't need its own identity. It doesn't need this, that, and the other. We've colonized, or we have oppressed so many other people that everybody coming in should have equal rights or whatever. They're a U.S. citizen. Well, we're not doing that anymore. We're doing it that way, and therefore, however we feel about that and our perception of how we feel that the U.S. should be, that's who the people we're going to put in power, because they look at the same way we do, or at least they think they do.
Right.
They're only looking for the power, because it even goes back all the way to, now this might be a little more of a flip thing of it, but like even how when you talk about Jesus' time, when Jesus came around, Jesus is like, okay, it's been ran this way. Now this is a flip, right?
Okay.
I'm not saying Jesus
No.
is like the past, with all this other, but he's like, you guys have oppressed, and now this is a legitimately oppressed everybody. My Father sent me down here to make things right, so we're going to change things for the better. And then that's when all the Pharisees and Sadducees are like, whoa, hold on. Now you're putting your hand in my pocket, and I'm losing control and losing power. We're not going to let that happen. I don't care if you are really the Son of God. I'm not even going to read the prophecies. I'm just going to say, well, you're gone. Now, I take that on the flip side, flip it over here. America has been the most, what do you call it? The most generous, whatever country on the face of the planet through the freaking time, through all annals of time that you can even come up with, right? And for some reason, there's people nowadays that don't think that that's the way it should run. Because now, to be in that situation, we became like an economic powerhouse. We also had military dominance. So there was reasons we had to do that, because there's fucking scumbags all over this freaking world, right? And they're like, well, you should just mind your own business. I would agree with that to a certain extent. But when you have, say, where we're getting goods from this that come over to us, and then we manufacture, but it comes from here. Now we got all these freaking douchebags that are disrupting that shit, right? That we feel that we should get in and stuff, and human rights violations, all that other shit. Nobody in the history of the world has ever done more for the rest of the world than the U.S. has. And for some reason, some people have an issue with that, and or how the U.S. has run, and feel, well, we should run it differently, almost like a Marxist communist type thing, because we don't like all this hierarchy and all this bullshit. But it's the elitists and these white elitists, a lot of them are democratic in their thinking, or in their that they should, no, that's not the way it should be. We should have it all inclusive, but yet as long as I'm over here in my ivory tower and it doesn't affect me, I'm going to have my money, I'm going to do my thing, and everything else, you guys deal with that shit. Let's make this a better place, a more melting pot, to where we don't even have ingredients or stuff anymore. It's just melted together. Nobody knows shit for shit. But that's the way it should run, as long as it doesn't affect me. And as you've seen, until it comes to their doorstep.
Right.
Nancy Pelosi's one. There's a bunch of other people. And when it comes to their doorstep, they're like, whoa, hold on. Now we're getting out of control.
Excuse me, but the lawn's already been done for the day. You can move on.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember when Pelosi was, when they had some I forget which group it was, whatever, and she was telling them to go back to China.
Wow.
And nobody, they were kind of a little protest. It was Asian people, kids, whatever, protesting, where I think one of her alma maters was hitting where they were not allowing Asians, or they had the skewed scores where they lowered them for blacks and some other people, but the Asians had to score way up here, or else you didn't get in.
Wasn't that Harvard?
It was Harvard, but it was some of this. I can't remember her. It might have been Harvard. I can't remember what alma mater is. Anyway, they came to her and said, "Hey, why do you support that, or why have you not said anything with it?" And she goes, "Blah blah blah blah. Y'all just need to go back to China." Nobody blasted her for that shit, right? And it's just like it's ridiculous. But yet, we have all these people, and again, I'm not defending the man and defending the policies, but yet Trump is the most racist, radical person on this planet. But yet everybody else either is in their own pocket, they've insulted everybody, they've proven in their actions how they've undermined, this democracy or this republic. It's not really democracy, it's republic, constitutional republic, and therefore they get carte blanche, and they're fine. That's my thing. It's just like to me, it's a fucking power play. It's a pocket. It's always been through the dawn of time. Has always been a pocket situation. It's still a pocket situation today.
And the sad thing is when you're talking about the Jews, I think the Jewish people in whole. Well, you were talking about the United States. What people don't realize is the United States, for the longest time, we were isolationists. We basically just dealt with our own shit or whatever. We got a little bit involved with World War I. We helped out, a little bit, but we still were kind of. But it wasn't until World War II that stopped, and the reason why it took over a million people to get wiped off the planet, and for a country to basically start taking over all of Europe. And it's like, wait a minute. And then Japan woke us up. We actually still didn't act. It wasn't until Japan bombed Pearl Harbor that it was like, what and what the fuck is going on?
Right. And
then after that, so that shows you what happens when you. That was one of my biggest knocks with. I know you're going to say among many, but in the Clinton administration, with what was going on when Yugoslavia broke up, they knew that the Bosnians were getting that there was genocide going on, and it was they basically said it. We want all Bosnians wiped off of this. We want get rid of them, kill them all. And it took us forever to act, to get involved, because we didn't want to deal with, to us that was a civil war between the Serbs, the Croats, the Bosnians. We were like, nope, we ain't touching that. But yet a whole group of people, ethnicity, was getting wiped off the planet. The Serbs basically were like, we want them gone. The guy in charge was like, I don't care how old they are. If they're Bosnian, kill them. And then we finally got involved. So it's like, so when we do, we're damned if we do, or we're damned if we don't. The Jewish people, my final thing on that is they're in between a rock and a hard place, because you got one side over here that hates, it's like, I look at our politics. So you have the far right that hates and despises the Jews, the Ku Klux Klan, the Aryan Nation. They've always hated the Jews, eradicate them, because they killed Christ and they're money grubbing, whatever. Then you got over here on the far left, same thing. They're colonizers. They're kill them. They have no place. It's like when they left Poland and went into Russia. Everybody thought they were welcomed with open arms in Russia. It's like, well, the Russians didn't kill them,
right?
Like the Germans were going to do, but they were still treated like second-class citizens when they were in Russia. Why? Because they looked down upon the Jews. So the Jews, they try to find this middle ground, and it's like nobody wants them. You have a lot of African American people resent Jewish people. Arabs, which a lot of them are associated with progressive, far left politics, hate the Jewish. So it's like the Jews are like, what the hell? We ain't. They're stuck in the middle. So, Ed.
I don't know. I don't know what's left to say.
I think we squeeze that. I think we squeeze this one dry.
Yeah, I think that extra virgin olive oil is now just like plain old olive oil at this point.
Yeah, it's not even oil. It's probably
It's a dirty oil.
Yeah,
dirty.
Not a virgin. She ain't virgin no more.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, this has been pretty interesting.
It has been interesting.
Yeah. All right. So, what do you think?
Oh, Rodri apparently he's been listening.
Yeah. All right, Rodri.
He couldn't get a word in edgewise anyway.
Yeah. That's okay.
I don't know, man. When you get some of these topics, man, and just like
it's tough because you have so many different opinions, you know?
Right. But when people, like I said before, when you have people who do not do due diligence, do not do the research and understand exactly what's going on, and just go half-cocked or with a knee-jerk reaction, and then things aren't analyzed correctly.
Right.
That's what I get. And, excuse me, and part I have, I'm just going to say one more thing, I'm done, especially with the media. The media will perpetuate this shit. Mm-hmm. That's where I have the problem. And they'll perpetuate this crap, and they're like, oh, and past it, they needed to do something because the Palestinians were starving and this and that. I already showed you. Documented evidence is bullshit.
Right.
Right? But, and I don't understand where these, well, I do understand they're influenced, but where these stupid-ass kids are getting, you know what? At the end of the day, why aren't you putting forth your efforts? Say, let's just say in some of these places where Africa, where they're trying to get clean water and shit. Why don't you do shit like that instead of sitting there bitching about something that you have no fucking clue of what you're talking about, and nothing that you do or doing is going to make a bit of difference at all.
Right.
None. Nobody gives a shit about you, and especially when Tex talk, when he's talking about, when talk about victimhood, deserved. I wish deserved would get just put out of the freaking, because nobody deserves shit in this world.
Right.
You earn it. You work for it. Nobody deserves shit. And when these kids are sitting, they think they deserve this and that, and I deserve to have my opinions heard, and no, you don't deserve shit.
Right.
Right. But last thing, take your efforts and put them in something that actually makes a difference, where you're actually helping people.
Positive.
But see, even that gets looked down on. There was an entrepreneur. I can't remember what it was.
Mr. Beast.
Yes.
Yeah, the influencer.
Yep. Mr. Influencer went over to Africa, spent all this money to get clean water, to have these wells. There was digging these wells, these places that don't have any water. But then you have people on these far left progressives over here were they're like, oh, the white savior has to come. We don't need no white savior. It's like, so he even got blasted because he would happen to be white and had the money, and he was putting his money where his mouth was. He's like, these people need it.
Oh, it's just an attention grab. Okay, let's say it is. Fine.
So what?
These people got water, clean water.
Yep.
Right. Right.
And instead of talking the white savior, like you talk. Well, if you're getting all the donations from the U.S., which is 60-some, white, all the UNICEF and all these other Water for Africa and all these other places.
Right.
Shut up, stupid.
Well, and just another thing too about that's something that's going underneath that unlooked is I just saw it yesterday. What's happening right now in Iran, other than that what happened today with the helicopter going down. But what was happening this week in Iran is the police, the Republican Guard, they were cracking down on women that they felt were out in public inappropriately, and they had cameras out there where they were showing these women getting thrown in these vans right on the streets of Tehran because if they didn't have their face covered properly or whatever. So now all of a sudden it's like, so where is the news? Because supposedly this has been going on now for the past couple weeks, for the past couple months. This is just something that they're recently really cracking down on enforcing in Iran. And this stuff's been out there. It's like, how come you're not hearing more about it? Where's the outrage that these women are getting punched? And they showed the guard the Republican Guard of Iran kicking these women on the ground and picking them up and throwing them in armored vehicle and driving off. Where's the outrage?
Where are the feminists?
Right.
Yeah, where is the outrage? So it's how put your energies into something like that.
Right.
But
yeah, I think my last thing is, and I was thinking about this today on my way here, is we were talking about schools, and we touched on diversity a couple weeks ago, or was it last week? I can't remember. It all kind of bleeds
Oh, we missed
together.
last week because of Mother's Day.
That's right. So it would have been the week before last. And okay, so you have people that, like, lower income people that would have probably sold their soul to be at Berkeley, to be at JHU, to be at, Columbia University, all these universities, and you have these asshats that were protesting. What right? What right? And I felt bad for the students that couldn't get into those schools. And you have these white, overprivileged kids that wanted their opinion known, which they have that right. But I put myself in the shoes of, the lower income people or people that just couldn't get in because of financing and things like that. I put myself in their shoes and think, geez, what could they have done that would have been so much better than, the whole protesting and everything like that? That, if that kind of makes sense. What about the kids that wanted to get in there, but they just couldn't afford it, or,
Well, even kind of talking about what Roger said. What if I, working my ass off, and I got into these colleges, and but I don't have that. I don't have mom and dad with the big ass fat checkbook,
right?
And I'm working my ass, and then I am getting to where I can't get to class, and you're jeopardizing my degree or my ability to finish school,
right?
And this and the other. And why do you have the right to do that? You fucking don't.
Right.
That's my point. And when you get these freaking, like, that stupid bitch from Columbia University that allowed this stuff to happen, and she says, I could have done better. No fucking shit. Are you telling me that you're so fucking intelligent that you could be the fucking president of Columbia University and still not know that when that starts to form up that's going to be a bad thing?
Right.
You're a fucking moron. That's what I'm saying. These people over here are fucking dumb as a bag of hammers.
Right.
Just like the freaking stupid skank from was it Harvard or whatever, where they're talking about diversity and stuff. And like, do you feel that Israeli students being whatever should be whatever? And she's like, no, that's as long as it doesn't go into that.
Right. So I'm going to take what you said even deeper. Let's take that kid that busted his or her ass to get into one of those colleges, and they worked their asses off.
Mm-hmm.
They went during the summer, they went, during the school year to make it something for themselves.
Part-time jobs and working this and working that.
And because of these people that did the protesting for themselves, that fucked that person out of walking across a stage to get their diploma that they busted their asses for. You've got kids that were out there that didn't get the privilege to have a true graduation because of COVID.
I was about to say that.
4 years later, they're getting fucked again because of people that cared more about themselves than what they did about the population.
But I don't even know about themselves. I don't even know what they care about. Like what?
They don't know what they're caring.
It's like Tex says, like they didn't even know why they're there. So why the fuck are you there? You don't even know.
Right.
So it's not even about. I don't even know what the hell it's about.
They just don't want to do for half of them. Probably just don't want to do their fun.
But you know what? That's on them. Fuck you. You don't graduate. There's no
That's
makeup
my
final.
thing.
Fuck you. Go for another term.
You're out.
Yeah.
Because
if you miss your finals, you're done. If you fail,
right,
and if you're on scholarship or whatever, the scholarship's gone.
Right,
you're done.
Right, but what about the kids that weren't allowed to go? What about the kids that were stopped from going? What happens to them? Okay, so these fuckheads over here, we're going to let you go. We're going to understand. We feel sorry for the situation, and we get that. And it's in the news. It's in the headlines that they are allowed to do this. We're going to excuse you. But what about little Johnny? That was the one that busted his ass to get in here. He wasn't allowed to go in because of people that believed in whatever they wanted to believe in. What happens to him? Does he get excused too? What happens to him? And this is the whole problem that I have with this whole entire subject. Who the fuck do these kids think they are?
And that's my thing, because everybody that's gone to school, because I know I've even filled out a lot of my sons and daughters' stuff. There is student conduct that everybody signs that says these kids right here have violated that, conduct becoming of a Towson State, university student or whatever else. You little fucker, and you little fucker, you're out.
Right.
Right? You're done. No refund, no nothing. You're out.
Right.
Now, you need to go repeat or whatever. I don't even know what, at this point, I don't care what happens to you. I don't know if you're going to repeat this whole semester. I don't care if you end up, I don't know, freaking digging. I don't give a fuck what happens to you.
Right.
You're done. You're out.
Right.
And that is the way we should be enforcing this shit.
I agree 100%. Now, let's look at it this way. The three of us are in the same college, God forbid. We get pissed off because the gymnasium didn't, the school sports department didn't give us brand new helmets this year for football. So we throw a hissy fit, just the three of us. I can guarantee you we're fucked.
Oh, we're done.
But if we get the whole football team, then that's a different story.
Well, part of it is also the things that, because they're protesting a humanitarian issue. It's humanitarian. That's the whole thing. So it's kind of what we help. We think that we're actually teaching our students.
We're trying to make the world a better place.
Yeah,
right.
And it's a human rights, whatever issue, and that's what it is. It's like
no. I mean, I think the whole thing is that there's a bigger picture out there. There is a huge picture, but it's been lost in translation somewhere. What were you getting ready to say?
Kind of getting on your point. The simplest way I look at it is we have come, and there again, I go back to social media, we have become so narcissistic. These kids have become so narcissistic in their thinking that the whole world, it's like in their minds, the world revolves around them.
Right.
And I can even say this. It's like, how many times have you gone into a store, the grocery store, or department store, whatever, and you're walking, and you see these people walking around like they're the only ones in the aisle. They don't say, excuse me. They come right up to you with your card or reach over you, or they're on their phone and they're talking, blah, 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 blah. Well, Fred, yeah, I sat there and I told him to go, and they're talking, because in their mind, you are a non-player character in their video game world. They are they're the lead actor. We're all just, so it's like, get out of my world. Social media, I think, has a lot to do with that, with these followers. Look at me. Everybody, look at me. And it's like, if somebody's looking at you, so the three of us are out there, and you go walking out there in a lime green suit, and everybody's like, damn, look at Ed over there. Man, he's sticking out like a sore thumb. I'm going to be like, motherfucker, how come you all ain't looking at me?
Right.
So I'm going to try and outdo you. I'm going to start putting strobe lights or something on my head to be like, well, screw Ed. Look at this idiot over here. And then Cuz is like, well, I'm going to beat you up both. And he comes out butt naked.
Butt naked.
It's kind of like that. What is the commercial now for the you remember something but you have to forget something else? Is it Uber Eats or something like that?
Yeah, Uber Eats.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's look at me.
Right.
Don't look at them. And it's like if the focus shifts, it's like, damn, now I got to do something to get the focus back on me.
So I hear you. And
So I'm not just saying it's a simple version.
Right.
It's a lot more complex than that.
right. No, I hear what you're saying, and I hear about the media. Right now, I'm actually reading something from Immanuel Kant, or Kant, however you want to pronounce it, and it is the groundwork for metaphysics of morality. And it all boils down to us. You know, we have allowed this to happen. There are the laws of the state, and then there's also human law. Some people follow laws because it's what I'm supposed to do, and it makes it right that we're all supposed to follow these rules or laws. But then there's also another one, like you're hitting on, is I'm going to follow the law because it's good for me. It makes me look better and makes me feel good about myself. Nice. That is not something I'd want to see, either of them.
I want somebody to do a drawing of that.
No.
That would be horrible.
It would be horrible.
But, you know, looking back at the whole college situation, looking back at everything that is happening, eventually the blame game has got to stop at some point in time where, you know, I just think of a circle where I'm pointing at you, you point at him, you're going to point back at me, and eventually it's like, hold on a second. Who is the actual infiltrator of this whole thing? Who has screwed this up? And I kind of think it's all of us at a certain point in time.
At this point, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
That's what I think about it. We ought to go in there. We should have gone in there like freaking German riot police with the freaking riot shields and the spring-loaded batons and gone there and fuck the people up. That's my thing. My thing is like, look, we can get philosophical on where this is coming from. That common sense should and always should rule out.
Right.
And right now we're not playing with an ounce of common sense.
No.
And the simple fact that like I said, and I'm done, everybody's allowed to disrupt. All these people are allowed to do this, do that, where all these other people are affected. But yet, because we've come into this little bullshit society where they're the ones that have, you know, squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Right. Sorry.
They're the ones that we're going to just concentrate on and that we deserve. They somehow think they deserve whatever.
Right.
Oh, fuck that.
No.
We got to drive through like a freaking Mack truck in a cow catcher and just clear that whole fucking field.
Yeah.
I'm to the point where I don't give a shit no more.
Yeah. I think with the whole
even your constitutional rights, I feel like are fucking out the window.
Well, you know, and the whole thing with the encampment, sticking to the subject on the whole college thing and this Hamas thing, you know, if you have a problem with what's going on, absolutely you have that right. So here's the law. You guys can come out starting at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you can end at 9 o'clock at night. You can stand out there with your flags. You can stand out there with your signs, and you can, you know, do your demonstrations and things like that. I'll even let you come out to the front of my college campus. But you're not going to block anybody. The minute that you start blocking people that permit them from doing their educational duty, what they want, and you start hanging out overnight, and you want to set up tents and stuff like that, that's when the line should have been drawn.
And or I'm sitting there calling you fucking Jew and this, that, and the other.
No, you're right. Absolutely. That's where
you don't. I mean, there's we have rights. All right, you have the rights to do whatever.
Right.
But when you start taking where it comes down to intimidation, especially when nobody's done anything to you.
Right.
Right. If you're fucking with me and then I intimidate you, that's fine.
Right.
But if I'm just walking to class and you're calling me all kind of names and trying to intimidate me,
right,
and death to whatever, which they were calling for,
right, you're infringing on someone else's rights, and that's when your rights need to stop.
As soon as you threaten me, that's a crime.
Right, that's infringement at that point in time, and that will catch you a case.
It should, but
right.
not today anymore.
Right.
So,
all right, I think we should call it a draw there.
Yeah, we're about 2 hours in.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's almost Roger's bedtime.
Yeah.
Yes. But I would love to see if anybody, and there could be some different points. If anybody disagreed with what we said and what that is.
Right. I'm all for it.
I would love to hear somebody debate what we've said, and again, not saying you don't have the right to.
Right.
I would just like to see what it is,
Sure.
and on what points.
Right. Right.
And I think there is a very good intellectual conversation that I think a lot of people do not like Benjamin Netanyahu, and that's fine. From what I understand, even people in Israel are ready for him to get booted out of power. But you can't, because of you can't see. That's the thing. You have that one individual, and then certain other people want to group everybody into the same bucket.
Right.
Okay, so it's like okay, so if you're in that country and we don't like him, well then you must be a part of it too.
Right.
So but no, that's where you see the anti-Semitism come into play.
Yeah.
It's because it's okay. So just because the guy's wearing a yarmulke, you're going after him. It's like if you're pissed off at the policies of Netanyahu and all this other shit, well, that's fine.
Right.
You can be pissed off at the policies of him and the government.
Right.
But ain't the people.
Yeah.
That kid that's wearing the yarmulke over there, he has nothing to do with what the hell's going on over there.
Don't group him in with that.
Doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
I know, but exactly. You're a
Jew.
Right.
Yep, you're a part of it.
You're part of it.
Yeah.
And like the whole thing, you're white.
Well, and
you're obviously an oppressor and a slave, and you were slave owners, this and the other.
Well, and
you're a piece of shit.
And the Germans went through the same thing. After World War II, you're a Nazi. If you're from Germany, you're a Nazi. So the Japanese went through the same thing. That's why they got put in internment camps. And it's like we didn't like what the Emperor Hirohito did or whatever.
Right.
Hey, but you're Japanese. You're all a part of it.
It's okay if I do it, but it's not okay if you do it.
I still think all the Germans are Nazis, but that's I said because it's stupid over here.
Oh boy.
Bedtime. Oh, he's taking care of a cat.
Aww.
All right, so I'm done.
I'm out. Sorry, this one ran over. I thought it was pretty interesting, though.
Oh, it was interesting.
Really good points of views.
It's a little spicy. So just for a little tidbit. So I had a little picnic with for my niece Maddie was graduating from college. So we met with Jen. Jen was there. So I asked Jen. I said, "Hey, we talked about the show and everything else," and she stopped watching because of the topics. She said now she's looking at the topics that we're doing now. She said, I might want to re-engage back in because of the topics that we're doing.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, nice.
So I think some of our stupid topics maybe have ran some people off. But.
So now we're back on track. It kind of sounds like. And
we're on something.
We're on to something.
I don't know what that might be, but.
Yeah, we're on something. All right, guys.
So, do you want to do our next one?
Nope. I'm just kind of.
You should do talk a lot for not coming up with no subjects.
I know, that's why I like
motherfucker. All right.
All
so
right.
I guess I'll do next one.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, because we got both. We got your whole college thing in, and
man, there's so many I could just.
Oh
anyway.
Man. Well, I would like to say to finish off, thank you all that have joined in. Night, guys. See you next time. Thank you, Rory, for joining in. I want to thank, and I think I'm all on the same page here, the people that put their asses out on the line for us every single day, the military, the police officers, the firefighters, all of you guys and men and women that are out there busting your asses to keep us safe, to keep us alive, that risk your life to save our lives. I want to thank you all, and I think we're all in agreement here. Thank you for what you do, and I make it a point to stop, when I see a police officer, things like that, even, military, I always stop and take my time out to thank them. The veterans that have served our country to save us. I thank you. I thank you for what you have done and what you have continued to do today. Thank you.
But Ed, just one little side note to that. Just to let you know, not everybody that has a cardboard sign on the streets there in Baltimore that says they're a veteran
Yeah.
They're not all veterans.
Very true. So true.
Be very careful.
Yeah. Yeah, I think most veterans had survival skills.
It'll be like in Trading Places with Eddie Murphy.
Yeah,
It'll be
I
like,
can walk.
hey, I was in the military. I served Vietnam too. Where you at? I was like, I was in Poontang.
Yeah.
Poontang Ting Tong.
Yeah. I was a soldier boy back then.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you all. Please comment below. Comment if you agree, if you don't agree, if you have a different point, please put it up there. We're not going to fight with you. We're not going to look at you in a different light. We are going to look at you and say thank you for letting us know.
Unless you come off with some really stupid shit.
Hey, even then, we're still going to read it. Please, by all means, if you have a topic that you would like us to touch on, put it out there. Put it up there on the interwebs. You can find us anywhere that you want to find us. Facebook, YouTube. Where
Not
else?
Facebook no more.
Not Facebook anymore.
Well, not me anyway.
I'm out there on the Facebook.
He's on the Facebook.
On the Facebook.
On that Facebook.
On that Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Thank you all. Thank you. This was
Thank
been
you.
a great debate.
No, thank you.
I love it.
No. Thank you.
Doctor?
No, thank me, because that's what this show's about. It's all about me.
Oh,
Yes. Of all the college kids we're talking about, the narcissistic and everything else, that's where it's come from.
that's right.
Right here.
Here we go.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you.
We're out.
We're out. Peace.